It's not the best, but it's as good as it's gonna get. Alright. Hello everyone. I am gonna be reviewing the Twilight book. If any of you haven't heard of it, it's written by Stephanie Meyer. It's about vampires. So I just read this for the first time in my entire life. I'm gonna start off with a couple of disclaimers. Disclaimer number one, I love vampire books. Like, I'm not above vampire books. I always have, and I always probably will. I love reading vampire books. My second disclaimer is that these books were not as poorly written as everybody said they were. So give Stephanie some credit, people. Like, she's not as horrible as you make her out to be. I think it's one of those things where like people remember it as being worse than it actually was. So don't go looking for flaws and maybe you'll have a better time reading it. Like, I don't know, food for thought. Let me also say that this book got me out of like the world's worst reading slump, okay? I picked up like 12 different books trying to read them. I read the first chapter of like 400,000 million different books and none of them interested me enough to read past the first chapter, and so I kind of just like looked at this one and I was like, okay, like I'll try this one too, and I flew through it. The first day I read like 260 pages. I read it in 2 days. This is a 500-page book and I read it in 2 days. 2 days. Do not tell me that is not good storytelling. If you can get me to read something in 2 days, like that's a good story because I want to find out what happens. I can see how this book like got people into reading when they first read it because it's like very easy. It's a very easy read. Now to the actual story. Team Edward for now. I have met Jacob in real life like 3 times total, so I'm not ready to take an official stance. But I must say that Edward definitely fits that bad boy trope. He's definitely like a mystery man. I love that. He is a little bit stalkerish. Like, he literally follows her. He stalks her. Like, he literally stalks her places around town and out of town. Bella definitely should be more wary than she is of him, but like, it's a story, so I let it go because I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not the most pressing issue this book has. This book definitely requires the suspension of disbelief. Like, there are some moments where I'm like, oh, okay, no, like that could not happen, but then I'm like, okay, just like let it happen, it doesn't matter, whatever, I'll accept it. My favorite part of the whole book was reading about Carlisle's like origin story, like in ancient London, and how he became a vampire and how he turned Edward because he was like all lonely and sad. That was so much fun. Throw in anything about like ancient European countries and I'm in. I don't care what it is, I'm in. Entertainment for me. It makes me want to read like a book about like a vampire in old Europe. Have any of you guys like read a book like that? Maybe I'll read Dracula. I don't know. Like, now I'm gonna go read Dracula for real. Like, I'm gonna go read it. I've never read it. I'm gonna go read it. For somebody who says they love vampire books, I've never read Dracula, so. Let's talk about Bella. She's not as weak as everybody says she is. Like, I was waiting for her to do something like outrageously weak and like frustrating, but she didn't. She's a teenage girl, so I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll allow her to do these things. As if I could change what she's doing. She's literally a human hanging out with vampires. So, of course, she seems useless because she is. There is nothing that Bella can do that the vampires can't, except like sleep. So she literally contributes nothing. There's nothing she can do except like be cool. So like, she's trying at least. Like, give her some credit. She thinks that she's in love with Edward when she's actually not. So let's just get that out of the way. This is definitely like an insta-love story, which like bothers me, but Stephanie Meyer basically invented insta-love, so we're gonna go with it for now. At this point, like, they barely would classify as friends in my book. Subtract all the kissing that they do, and like, they barely know anything about each other, and they're like, I'm in love with you. Like, Edward has been alive for how many hundreds of years, and he's like, I'm in love with you. I've never felt this way before. That was one thing that I couldn't get over, was thinking about how old Edward was and how young Bella is. Like, I just couldn't handle that. So I'm not completely sold on this love story yet. My biggest issue with Bella is that she decides to go and fight this vampire. What's his name? Frick. James. Is his name James? There's that vampire that's like wants to get Bella because he's like, ooh, she smells good, I'm gonna go crazy and get her. So that's the biggest thing that happens in the story, and it wasn't that compelling. But my biggest issue is that Bella thinks that she can go off and fight this vampire herself. She's like, okay, I'm gonna go die. But like, do you really think this vampire is gonna let your mom go? Tell the other vampires and they will be able to sort this whole issue out vampire style. Like, maybe they could do something and save your mom, who isn't actually captured. Spoiler alert. So that was my only issue with her. Like, you're gonna go fight a vampire that has blood eyes, like the color of blood? You deserve to die, you know you're gonna die, and you deserve it. That's a little bit harsh, but seriously, as soon as she got off that phone, she should have been like, yo, he just said that he's gonna kill my mom. Help me. But instead she thinks that she can just do whatever. Overall, props to Stephenie Meyer for writing a book that was like so fun but like got so much hate. Like, that must be literally the worst thing to experience as a published author. Is like writing a book, having it published, being so successful, and then having people just like destroy you for it and like hate you. But she's probably rolling in money now, so like honestly, who cares? Overall, I'm probably not gonna read the second book because my brain feels dead after reading this one. This book was definitely junk food for me, and so you know how you feel sick a little bit after eating junk food and you're like, okay, now I kind of want to eat healthy. Now I read my junk food and I want to go read something like Dracula. That's what I'm gonna go do. Who knows if I'll ever read New Moon? Probably eventually, like when I need some more junk food, but for now I'm just gonna stick with Twilight, and that's gonna be good for me. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you want more. Thank you. Goodbye. There was never an apple. There was never an apple in this book.